When I was at Martin Luther King in the I Rise program, we learned about the cultural board, the class ritual, recitation of 1,000 most commonly used words, ashe, libations. I would use that, and we would have plants. We would grow plants. We would examine the plants, the soil, the plant growth, the seed. We would water the plant once a week and then measure the plant as well. And when we watered the plant, we would bring a couple of volunteers up and we would say, "This is for my mother." Ashe, when we watered the plant, and different people would say different acknowledgments of people whom they love, both alive and dead, or passed away. You need to have structure, consistency, demeanor, and attire. You know, I often felt. I'm gonna walk around because of my back. I often felt that some particularly white teachers from Oregon or out of state, the East Coast, who are educated and paid well by the Oakland Unified School District, they come to school not in not good attire. Their clothing is wrinkled. They haven't spent much time on their presentation. And I felt, and I learned as a substitute teacher, that students like to see something pleasurable, something nice, something aesthetically nice, something that's easy to look at. And so this is why I never wore a tie before I started teaching, ever. But I wore a white shirt and a tie when I taught, and I noticed that the kids liked it. They behaved better, they responded well, and I never stopped. At that point, I took dressing and my presentation very, very seriously. And you need to be consistent. You need to be consistent in the way that you treat the children, in your behavior, and in the way that you enforce the class rules. You have to be fair. You have to call on people equally. Another important thing is you can't be scared or reluctant to call on certain children. Every student in the class needs to know that they can be called on at all times. All right, now I'm going to go down to my 2 cents. Before we get there, I'm going to say that many teachers there's a great big gap in people's understanding of what the purpose of a teacher is. Some feel that a teacher's purpose is to educate, empower a student to be all they can be. Other people's perspectives on teaching is that we're social engineers. Mr. Richter referred to a social engineer at Skyline High School, and some teachers feel as if it's their job to police the students, and that is, I strongly disagree and feel as if that needs to be policed and changed, because teachers can notice when students are failing. They can offer them extra credit work. They could call their homes. They can do many, many things. As a teacher, I always struggle to try to get every student to be as productive as they can, and when they didn't, you'd spend extra attention on those students. It is a fact in my 20 years of teaching that many teachers deliberately present materials in a harsh and unfriendly way, and then deliberately let the children fail and even facilitate that failure. That's a fact, and I can deliberate a great deal more. I'm going to go on to my 2 cents and some of the things that I think about teaching and have learned. And one is, who is in that seat? A lot of teachers come and they teach the same thing the same way every year, and it's indifferent and unconsequential of who sits in that seat. However, every teacher, every school year is a life within itself. Any real teacher knows that, and every single student that comes to sit in your class is a part of an integral part of a very important community, and you need to know who each student is. You need to care about each student, and every student needs to feel as if they're loved and accommodated totally, and that is the only way you could really build community. If a child feels it, it is your concern. You say, if a child says, "Oh, I don't like them for this reason, I don't like them for that reason," you may say, "Well, you know, I didn't do anything, why should I worry about it?" No, you have to care about everything the child thinks, whether it is valid or invalid, whether it is correct or incorrect. It is your responsibility to know the fears and anxieties, the incorrect or correct perspectives, opinions that a child has to the best of your ability, so you can ease them and help them. I'm going to come back to E. Morris Cox. Eleanor Roosevelt said that coming to the racist thing is that you have to give people an extra help. If you tell white children that they can behave, that this is their country, then that is a misconception, and many teachers subliminally make certain children feel more accommodated and appreciated, but that gives a false sense of superiority to a child and a false sense of inferiority to another child. And you need to make sure that you're being fair to all children. I have never, which brings me to this point, this school here, before I say that, I'll say I never failed a black child. And because I'm fair, I never could fail any child. Now, this is the first time I've ever admitted this, because it's not something that is condoned probably, and it's not something that is teachers supposed to do. But I have learned in my personal life that black people have been dealt a bad hand in America, and I became a teacher, which I'm about to share to you, for this specific reason. And I would not contribute to the further hurting and damaging of my black brothers and sisters and any of my students, because it is my discretion to grade, to offer extra credit work, and to grade at my discretion. And I have always used my discretion in favor of a young black man. I've never, except for one student who forced me to fail him 1 year in 20 years. And Sister Roxanne Brown Garcia from Alpha Kappa Alpha in San Francisco I-Rise program agrees with me. And the last thing that I'm going to present here before I show you some of the pictures that I have is why we're here in front of this school, E. Morris Cox. We're here in East Oakland on 98th Avenue. This is one of the first long-term assignments that I had. I had a special day class. And I came here, this man, Mr. Cook, the famous Dr. Cook, and this was my class. It was a special day class. And I was shocked. I was shocked to come here because I had just received a bachelor's degree in economics from Cal State Hayward. I didn't have a teaching credential. I had no teaching experience other than mentoring after school program. And they placed me right here in the bungalow, and no one came to monitor me and no one came to check on me. One day I was eating lunch in the cafeteria, and there were some older white women teachers, and they were speaking so disparagingly about the students. It was unbelievable. Do we teach? Do their parents care about them? Are they all drug addicts, and they don't even come to school properly clothed or kept or hygiene? And all we're doing is babysitting them before they go to prison or whatever they're going to go do. This is a disgusting neighborhood. Right here at this school, right here. The teachers were saying that, and I was a substitute teacher, so I was new and I was just visiting, so I didn't say anything. I was eating my lunch in the teacher's lunchroom, and as we got up to go, I noticed that the bell rang and they had their classes waiting for them, and in both teachers, old white women had 32 beautiful young black children in their classroom. And I thought, now what are those kids going to go in there and do? You think they're going to feel what these ladies feel about them? And I said, I have to become a teacher. And that was the inspiration to become a teacher. And this, when I was at the same bungalow there was a kid in my class named Ernest Windsor, and he was challenging. He was very energetic. It was a special day class, so he had special needs. But I liked him as I liked all students. One day his mom came in the morning and she said, "Are you Mr. Pereira?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I just had to come to meet you." And she grabbed my hand, surprisingly, and suddenly she grabbed my hand and she held it with both of her hands with a great amount of spiritual emotion. And I was kind of busy and rushing, trying to get people in the kids in the class to sit down quietly and speaking to other kids as they walk by. And I said, "Yeah, a lot of kids like me. I'm pretty popular everywhere I go. There's nothing new." And she held my hand a little tighter, And she looked me deeper into my eyes and she said, "No, Mr. Pereira, I want you to know that Ernest never had a good teacher. You know, he comes home, he talks about you all day, he wants to dress well, he wants to do his homework, he really cares about you, and he really cares about doing well in your class, and he never had a teacher like this, and I want you to know that I thank you for what you've done with him." And I just felt such an immense appreciation from her, and it may come from my own mother not showing me much love and appreciation, but that's the other reason, the positive side, I became a teacher. Here's a picture of another class I had at Glen Park. I was at Martin Luther King, my first 5 years in San Francisco, 4 at Martin Luther King, 1 at Glen Park. And here's another one when I was a substitute teacher. This was a wonderful class I had in West Oakland at Lafayette Elementary School. That was the second long-term position job I had. It's a very rewarding job. And this is a picture of some of the staff there at Martin Luther King. I'm very grateful for Mr. Taylor, who hired me as my first long-term teaching position in San Francisco. And I'd also mention that this woman here, Crystal Jang, worked with my father when my father worked 20 years earlier at Everett Middle School in San Francisco. And I was very proud to continue my father's legacy of a teacher. Here, just scan down here. These are a bunch of pictures that I'm going to show you that students have drawn for me over the years and have given me. I've had many more, but these are the ones that I just kept. And let me end with this one right here. Cool Mo Triple O Saucy Teacher Punk. I like that. And then we also have some yearbooks here. I'm not going to go over all of them, but this is from Elmhurst Middle School, Martin Luther King skyline. I'll show you one picture here from this is one of my students, Anthony Moore, when I was at Elmhurst Middle School, and there you have it. I know this is a short presentation. I planned for it to be in a classroom with many other things, but those facilities and that opportunity did not avail itself. So I would simply like to say that Black Lives Matter, and that black children matter, and that the history of America is racially unacceptable and disgusting, and that we as a people must love each other and truly love each other. We must recognize the injustices that we've done together. We must recognize the position that our history has left portions of our citizens in, and we must accommodate and adjust our behavior and our practices if we're going to have a more perfect union. So thank you. I hope that some of this information has been beneficial to you.